My mother-in-law is an absolute nightmare. She doesn't want her son to leave the house, so besides the fact that my man is a complete mama's boy, now I have to deal with the fact that, well, he doesn't want to hurt mommy's feelings and get married to me like a big boy. I'm 24 and I've been dating Terrance for 2 years. And even though we're fairly young, I knew very quickly that he was the man I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I've never believed in love at first sight until I saw him across the room at a party at a friend's house. Yeah, I get how that cringe sounds, but it's true. He was the most handsome man I've ever seen. He's everything I like in a man. Dark hair, muscular with tattoos. I got my best friend Hazel to introduce me to him. I didn't understand at the time why she said that he did not have very successful relationships, and I thought she was warning me that he was not my boyfriend material, before, or some kind of character flaw. But as soon as we started talking, I found out that we had loads in common. I'm what is known as an alternative type of girl. All my friend groups are people who love to express our individuality in our dresses, how we dye our hair, our body art. My parents are very similar, and I was raised to express how I was, in any way I wanted, as long as I was not causing myself or anyone else any harm. Currently, my hair is dyed a lovely shade of blue, and I have a multiple of piercings on my ears, nose, and eyebrows. I have tattoos on my arms and other less obvious body parts. I love who I am, and finding Terrance was amazing, as he loved me as I was too, and happy to express himself as I was. It was a match made in heaven. We started dating after that night at the party, and we were pretty much inseparable from that day. My friends laughed that it was meant for me, and we were the perfect couple. I introduced him to my parents, Indigo and Mal, and my brother Atticus, very early on, and they loved Terrance as much as I did. Atticus is the same age as Terrance, and they hit it off straight away. Terrance loves motorbikes, which made him a great guy in my dad's eyes, and my dad's always tinkering away on one of his bikes. It was great, and as soon as my family accepted him, I knew he was the one for me. My mom told me in private that she knew we were meant to be as I looked at Terrace, and the same way that she looked at Dad. I had not met Terrance's mom, even though that we have been dating for a couple months now, and I started to wonder why. I asked Terrance if it was because he was not as happy with me as I thought. He said that's not the case. It was just that his mom was, quote, difficult, and was never happy with anyone he dated. It turns out that when Hazel was telling me that Terrance did not have a good track record of relationships, it wasn't because he was the problem, but that his mother went out of her way to destroy every single relationship that he had. Terrance said that he had never been as serious about someone as he was about me, and he was worried that his mom would do something to scare me away. The thought of that was what was preventing him from introducing me to her. I told him that nothing would scare me away from him. He was stuck with me forever. He laughed and said that he had warned me, so I should brace myself and arrange for me to meet his mother a few days later. That his mom was difficult was an understatement. She was the worst person I've ever met in my life. As a little background, Terrance's mom, Gloria, had him when she was just 18 years old as a result of a one-night stand. And she raised him on her own, except for the numerous boyfriends that she had over the years. If I was going to be polite, I would describe her as clingy and needy. If I were mean, I would describe her as demanding, childish, and pathetically spoiled. Terrance sat me down before I met his mom and gave me a quick history of their life and the things that she's done to previous girlfriends. Terrance admitted that in some ways he was to blame, as over the years he'd given in to her and that had cost him a lot. He said that he felt that he owed her for bringing him up, and that she'd sacrificed her youth for him. I asked him whether that was what he thought or if that's what she had told him, and so he had grown up believing it. Well, He looked sheepish and said it was possible that she had guilted him into it and had tried to stop him from leaving her. I told him it would be okay and that I was not going anywhere. During that first meeting with Gloria, I could see why Terrance's ex-girlfriends had run for the hills. She was rude, condescending, and whining like a child every time Terrance paid any sort of attention to me. I smiled when we were alone, and I admit I was rude. I told her that she could throw anything she liked at me, but I wasn't going anywhere. I have the thick skin of a rhino, and a pathetic attempt to insult me just won't work, woman. It's safe to say that Gloria and I began our relationship on the wrong foot, and it never got better from that point on. When she met my parents, she made the mistake of insulting me in front of my dad. He shut her down pretty quickly. Terrance and I continued to date, and things started to get serious. We moved in together. I had a nice apartment not far from my parents, and so Terrance moved to live with me. Gloria did not take that well, and there were tears, screaming fits, and a few ornaments were broken as she threw a tantrum that would have made a 2-year-old proud. Well, I was unmoved. I decided not long after into our relationship that it was in Terrance's best interest to get him out of the house he shared with his mom before she destroyed his mental health once and for all. Well, time went on, and then one night when Terrance and I were camping at a local forest area, he got down on one knee under the light of a full moon and asked me to marry him. It was the most beautiful night of my life, and I'll never forget it till the day I die. My ring had a stone that matched the color of my eyes, and I was crying, and I said yes. Happy tears, of course. Sorry, I realize I sound like a babbling, love-struck idiot, but whenever I think of that night, I can't help but smile. As we are pretty alternative, we decided we wanted our wedding to match our personalities, and we immediately knew that we wanted nature to be part of our day. My parents were overjoyed that I was getting married. Atticus was happy as I was marrying the man who he had already considered a brother, and my friends were looking forward to a party. We told my parents first, and I have to admit that for all my brave talk, I was terrified of what Gloria's reaction was going to be. It was predictable, to say the least, but we're beyond caring or allowing her to tempered get to us. We start to plan the wedding immediately as we did not want to wait too long. I could not wait to be Terrance's wife. My parents were paying for the whole wedding, and they had put a fund aside since I was a tiny girl, and they were happy with the plans we had suggested. I'd asked my best friend, Hazel, to be my bridesmaid, and Terrance asked Atticus to be his best man. Terrance does not have a lot of close friends due to his mother, but he has really formed a bond with Atticus and my dad. Now, all we need was a venue and all the things you need for a wedding. So, this is where the problem comes in. Gloria was texting Terrance all week. She won't see us in person as it's too raw that I stole her son, apparently. She does, however, want to know what part she'll have in the wedding. I wanted to badly say no part at all, as I don't want her bitterness casting a shadow on my special day. But even as my mom said, Gloria has a right to play a part in the wedding. Luckily, Terrance was not there when I was talking to my mother, as some of my suggestions were not very polite. Anyways, here I am looking for impartial advice. What do I do with my mother-in-law to be at my wedding? Would you give her a role where she'll be able to draw attention away from us and onto herself? Before anyone drops a comment to suggest anything, I've already thrown the car park attendant, toilet attendant, official coat holder, and rubbish collector into the pot. And my mom told me to stop being a butthole. Please help me find a place for my jerk of a mother-in-law to go. Update number 1. Firstly, thank you so much for all the laughs. Some of the suggestions I received were absolutely hilarious, and I wish I could make them happen. I was not sure about showing Terrance, but when I did, he laughed until he cried. Anyways, we had a discussion and decided we would offer her a part in the bridal party as one of the bridesmaids. I figured Hazel would be able to keep her in line as she's a no-nonsense girl, which is why I love her as my best friend. We asked her 2 days ago. She said no. It shocked me as I assumed she would want to be in that position where everyone could see her. We decided not to push it as I was happy to not have to think about her, and we've made her an offer. I was naive to think that it would be over just like that. Gloria is an absolute huge social media person. She thinks she's like an influencer or something for glamorous single mothers. And so within hours of us leaving her house, my name was all over her pages. She'd put on videos of herself crying that her son had been forced by his woman. Yeah, not fiance, not girlfriend, no, woman. To cut her off out of his wedding, and that I had insulted her by offering her the lowly role of a bridesmaid. She said she had never been so insulted as she should have been at least maid of honor. I'm not having a maid of honor, or walked her son down the aisle. I don't know if that's even a thing. This was a long video, and she ranted about how my brother had been asked to be the best man when it should have been her. I have to say she is convincing. She should have been an actress. I was stunned at the spite in the video and was more determined than ever that she was not having a part in my big day. My mom and dad, however, said that by cutting her off, we were giving her more ammunition, and so we came up with a plan. Terrance would tell her that she would, quote, be head bridesmaid, and it would be an empty title but keep her happy. Hazel reassured me she could handle her, and in Hazel's own words, would shut down Gloria in a cupboard if it got that bad. I reluctantly agreed, and we said we would get her a different dress to Hazel, but in the same color. I could not believe that I was pandering to Gloria's behavior, but I'm sensible enough to know that it's a small price to pay to have a quiet wedding where I can focus on my love. So, with all that decided, we began to get serious. We picked the venue in the same area where we were engaged. It's beautiful, converted hunting lodge with a spectacular view, and it's large enough that people can stay overnight. I had already picked my dress. It's a very simple gown, and I wanted it to have an ethereal feel to it. I decided that the bridesmaids would be wearing a color that matched the nature theme of my wedding, and so I picked the sage green color. I decided, probably foolishly, that Hazel and Gloria could pick their own dresses, as long as the color was correct. I had a brochure from the wedding designer and told them to pick a dress and let me know. I did say I wanted them to be full length, but that was my only stipulation. Gloria was being nice. It was strange, but I tried so hard to think that maybe she was warming up to me. I have to say that my mom and Hazel have been amazing. I've had to be around Gloria more in the last few weeks than I've had in my entire relationship, and they've been incredible in keeping Gloria's worst tantrums controlled. We only have a few, and well, my mom had been treating Gloria almost like she would treat a toddler, who always wanted their way, and it seems to actually work. Also, my mom looks like the most gentle woman to ever walk this planet, but she has a spine of steel, and could stop a charging bull in its tracks with just one look. I love her so much. I think things are going well. Everything's in place, and it's now just the countdown to the wedding day. Thank you for your help, advice, and the laughs when I was stressed. I'll let you know about the update when the wedding happens and let you know if, well, we survive that day. Update number 2. Well, I looked over my last couple of posts and I realized that my last update was, to be frank, idiotic, and how positive I felt. Quite a lot of time has passed as I did not see the point of sharing all the normal things that happen in my life. It seems a bit self-indulgent to think anyone cares about the details of my wedding plans. I mean, Gloria would have given you a full-on running commentary, and to be fair, after what happened on the day of the wedding, I'm expecting to see some wonderful post on her social media. To all her followers, If anyone wants to see her rants, if you send me a message, I'll let you have her details. But there's no need to leave rude comments. Guys, we're better than that. I'm currently on my honeymoon, which is supposed a weird place to be updating a bunch of strangers on my wedding. Terrance is out arranging some trips for us, so I thought I would sit on the balcony in the sun and write down what happened. In a way, it's like a therapy. I write down what happened, send it out into the ether, and then I close my laptop and forget everything happened. Except, well, having a blissful time with my husband. I'm wondering if I can fit this into one update and not turn this into a novel, but you can always take a break if it gets too long, so I'll channel my inner Gloria and start with a dramatic scene set. So, let's travel back to the morning of my wedding, shall we? I stayed the night before my wedding at the venue with my mom. Hazel was also with us, and we were going to have a girly pamper session. My brother was at my place with Terrance and my dad for some beers and whatever guys do when they have a night together. They did not stay at the venue, so we were not tempted to see each other, and it was only a short drive. I should make it clear that we did invite Gloria, but she declined to say that she would like to rest that night, so she was refreshed for the following morning. She was also having her own hair and makeup was done at home, and she had a, quote, follower who wanted to do it. I should have insisted she comes to the house, but part of me was relieved that I didn't have to deal with her that morning I was getting married. I should probably mention here that the arrangements have changed slightly. Although Gloria was holding the title of, quote, head bridesmaid, we had to negotiate the logistics around it, as Gloria had made it very clear that she wanted to be with her son, not me. Terrance, to his credit, was firm, and said that Atticus was his best man, but he would allow his mom to stand with him to the side of Atticus as a groom attendant. Gloria agreed to this, and it was a relief to me, as I've only wanted my best friend with me anyways. My dad would be walking me down the aisle and Hazel would be behind me. So, the night before, we laughed, drank some wine, and did some silly girly things that made us feel like teenagers on a sleepover. It was amazing, and the morning of the wedding, I had one text from Terrance to just say that he could not wait to see me and that he absolutely loves me. Although, yeah, we're not very traditional. We had decided early on that we would not see each other the night before the wedding. It just felt more romantic that way. Terrance, my brother, and my dad traveled to the venue really early in the morning, and I stayed in my room, so I did not see my fiance. My dad and brother came back down to see me and let me know Terrance was here and ready, and I was nervous, but not because I was worried about marrying Terrance, just because I was excited to commit my life to him for eternity. The only blip was when we found out Gloria had not arrived. I'd expected that she would arrive with a big show, but there was no sign, and to be honest, I was worried. But Terrance sent a message through Atticus to say that she was on her way with her, quote, stylist, and would go to her room to get ready. Why did I now see the red flags? I was so caught up in the romantic haze that I did not even consider for a moment that she was planning something. I did not find out until my dad was about to walk me to meet my husband. The wedding was inside, but the room was surrounded by large windows that could be opened to let the fresh air in. It was hot, so I didn't want my guests sitting in the sun too long, and I was standing outside the doors, waiting for my cue to go in, when my mom appeared at the door. I could see the storm building behind her eyes, and that was my first indication that Gloria had played me like a fiddle. My mom was so angry, and at this point I do start to panic that Terrance had suddenly changed his mind and got cold feet and, well, bolted. Luckily, he didn't, but Gloria had done something that I did not think I would ever be able to forgive her for. And I'm being serious. Not once could I forgive her for this. She was not wearing that lovely flowing sage green dress we bought for her. No, not Gloria. She was standing in front of the priest on all of our family and friends in full wedding dress. Yeah, My mother-in-law was wearing a wedding dress to my wedding. My mom was angrier than I've ever seen her and said it was taking all the willpower that she had not to drag Gloria out of the room and pull that darn dress off of her herself. My father looked at me and asked me what I want to do. The hotel staff was hovering around and I could see on their face that they were horrified at what Gloria was doing. I just smiled and said, "Well, we should have known she would try something, and she wanted a reaction, and the best thing we could do would be to give her what she wanted." The photographer was out with me. To that point, he was taking photos of me and my dad, and with Hazel, and he said he would do whatever I wanted as I was the bride, and he answered to me and Terrance only, nobody else. So, I asked if Terrance was okay because he was the one in the room having to deal with his mother. My mom said that he looked furious when Gloria had flounced in with that dress, but she had spoken to him off to the side and told him to pretty much the same thing as I was told, and said that we should not give her the attention that she's craving. I asked the hotel staff if they had some paper, and I wrote a quick note to Terrance saying I loved him, and I was aware of what Gloria was wearing, but I was here to marry him, and she would not spoil our special day. So I added what I've told the photographer, that his mom was not to be in any of the official photos. We knew she would not agree to not being there, so the photographer was going to have to edit her out before we got them. Taking a deep breath, I took my dad's arm and started walking through the doors to marry the love of my life. Gloria was wearing a wedding dress that looked like a massive pudding cake. It was truly awful. If anything, it made me feel more beautiful, and it was obvious from the minute I started walking that Terrance only had eyes for me. The wedding went amazing, and when Terrance kissed me for the first time as his wife, I felt as though I would burst into happiness. As I walked past Gloria, I whispered, "That dress makes you look like an old woman trying to be a princess." It was spiteful, but I was still mad. My family and Hazel did an amazing job of keeping Gloria away from me, and by the time we got to the evening party, I'd forgotten all about her little pettiness. I was having such an enjoyable time. Gloria was trying so hard to get attention, flirting with my friends, and you could see how annoyed she was as she was getting ridiculed and turned down time after time. Well, I was happy I had managed to have an amazing day, and she had not spoiled 1 minute of it. Do you know how people say you should never say the worst is over because it's just tempting fate? Well, this is pretty much what happened. I was dancing with my husband, saying how happy I was that nothing had spoiled our day, when I saw Hazel making "come here" gestures with her hand. I pointed at my chest, and she shook her head and motioned to Terrance as well. We excused ourselves and went to talk to Hazel. She said we should go outside so no one heard what she was about to say. This takes me back to the fact that we should not have thought Gloria had done her worst. Terrance had just got back and we're going on a boat trip. I'll finish the Gloria wedding saga when we get back. Update number 3. Final update. Hey guys, sorry, but yeah, the boat trip was amazing, and we swam in some of the bluest waters I've ever seen. But now back to the swamp monster that is my mother-in-law. Hazel had called us outside to tell us that she had overheard while she was in the bathroom, and she was in the stall minding her own business when Gloria came into the bathroom to make a phone call. I have no idea why Gloria didn't check the stalls first, but she didn't. Gloria was on the phone with one of her friends who, well, all are so bad as she is, and was discussing how the day went. It seems this plan was in place for a long time. Gloria was ranting about how annoyed she was that I have not lost it when I saw the dress. But it didn't matter, as that was a small part of a bigger plan. Hazel said she did not dare breathe in case Gloria left without finishing her conversation. Hazel heard the whole thing. Gloria hates me, with every molecule in her soul. She had tried for 2 years to get rid of me, but I have proved to be tougher than she thought. She said that she was not finished with me, and by the end of the week I would be gone, and Terrance would be back at home where he belongs. As a slight aside, as long as I live, I will never understand her to need to keep her son at home with her. It's creepy and weird. So, Hazel gave us the main points of her plan, which was that tomorrow Terrance and I would leave for the honeymoon. Gloria would be on the plane with us. Yeah, you heard it right. She had booked rooms in the same hotel, and she would stalk us every day and night until I gave up and let Terrance put his head in his hands at this point and ask what was wrong with his mother, and I was wishing that I could answer that. I think she needs some kind of deep therapy. Anyways, there was no way in heck that she was coming with us, so we had to come up with a plan. Well, I don't know. A plan that would bear her at her own game. To do it, a plan fell in place that would have made Gloria herself proud if she had thought of it, and the coordination between family was amazing. Rather than try and explain the planning behind it, I'll just tell you how it worked when we carried it out. The first step was to get close to Gloria, and for that, my stunningly cunning best friend gave a performance that should have been an Oscar award. She pretended to be drunker than she was, smooshed over at Gloria, and began to talk about me. She said that she understood why Gloria did what she did, as I was a nightmare to have as a friend. Well, Gloria is so bitter that she fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. She thought that she could get some ammunition to use against me if she talked to Hazel, but all the time, Hazel was just sneakily filling up Gloria's wine glass until she was so drunk. As the guests began to go to bed, Gloria had to be escorted to her room by Terrance and Atticus, who basically threw her on the bed to sleep. While they were there, they changed the time on her bedside clock and on her phone so that it was 4 hours earlier than it actually was. We head off to bed at around midnight as we had an early flight and we had to be up by 6 a.m. Gloria had an alarm set for the same time. We checked, but now it would not go off at 6. It would go off at 10, by which time we would be on our plane and on our way to the honeymoon. My mom and dad took all the details for the hotel, and in the morning, once we left, they were going to call and cancel the hotel room in Gloria's name, and make sure she did not get on another flight. I was worried about that, but Atticus was smirking as he left and wiggled Gloria's passport that he moved from her bedside so she would not be able to book another flight straight away. I was worried he'd get in trouble, but he said he would hide it somewhere and she would assume she was so drunk that she lost it. We did not see the fallout as we were on the plane and on our way, but I did not receive any messages until we got to the hotel, as my phone data was turned off, but all went to plan. I'm not going to dwell on, her tantrum, as I'm sick of her getting all this attention. Needless to say, she kicked off, and in the end, my mom lost it, and completely told her to get the heck out and stay away. Apparently, Gloria was stunned as no one talks to her that way and left. I was worried Terrance would have second thoughts about how we treated his mother and hold it against me, but he was fine with it. He said that, he should have told her years ago that he was a grown man and she needed to get help. He enabled her behavior for far too long and he said he's done. He said that he planned to write her a letter, stating that unless she was prepared to go to therapy and get help with her issues, that he would be going no contact until she agreed to do what he asked. I asked him if he would be okay, as all we live in the same town. But he said it's not a problem. We'd already discussed doing some traveling in my parents' camper van, so that would give us our breaks from Gloria. I have family over all the countries, so maybe we'll do a family tour and just pick up where we go. So that's the tale of my nightmare mother-in-law, and how she tried to ruin my marriage, but in reality, ended up ruining her own relationship with her son. Guys, this story might actually be one of the wildest stories I've read in quite some time about a mother-in-law. Can we just say right now, Gloria might reach one of the top mother-in-laws on the channel, maybe top 3, possibly top 5, of absolutely vile people. I mean, the fact that she decided to show up in a wedding dress and pre-plan it in the bathroom with her best friend, who was apparently equally as vile, just shows exactly the type of person we're dealing with. Oh, and the plan did not stop there. If OP did not get wind of what the mother-in-law was trying to do, they would have had to spend their honeymoon shared with her as well. Could you imagine having a time of your life in the beach, up on top of the balcony like OP said in the story, and just next door, your mother-in-law, which boarded an airplane that you didn't even know about that morning, decides to come knock on your door to have dinner during your honeymoon? Good thing that didn't happen, and OP came up with a plan to change her alarm clock and get her drunk. Guys, I want to know your thoughts about this story. Did you enjoy it? What would you do if you had to deal with such a crazy mother-in-law as we had to deal with in this story? Drop your thoughts down below, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Mr. Reddito. I read stories every single day. Some of the most wild, dramatic, drama-filled stories I can possibly find across the World Wide Web. If that's something you're into, click that subscribe button, come back tomorrow around the same time, and I will see you guys then.